about Long Island?
It's crazy. There's crazy people out here. There's a lot of freaks out here. There's a lot of naughty, naughty men.
What about those girls getting killed on Gilgo Beach?
It scared me. It scared me because it could happen. I mean, it could happen to me.
So you're doing mostly in calls or out calls?
Some people shy from out calls. I charge a little bit more. But if I go on out call, I always have security. I can't be alone on something like that, especially out here because of what happened.
Well, that's a clip from The Killing Season, a new A&E documentary series tackling the unsolved case of the so-called Long Island serial killer. It's a story we've been covering for more than 5 years here on Happening Now, off and on, as we've gotten different news throughout the years. You have 10 sex workers all found dead along Gilgo Beach in Long Island, New York. Police have yet to make an arrest, and my next guests are hoping to change that. Joining me now are the filmmakers behind The Killing Season, Josh Zeman and Rachel Mills. It's great to have you both. Fascinated by this story. It is one that we've covered just because it's been such a mystery. Josh, what first brought you to the story?
I think like many people, we originally thought, with such carnage, 10 bodies, it was going to be solved. And then year 1, no arrests. Year 2, no arrest. And then we started to hear about some political backstabbing and the DA fighting with the police chief and confusion about whether it was one serial killer or 2.
And that's something to point out, Rachel, that within the police department that was focused on this, there's been a lot of things that have happened that are related to the case and not related.
That's right.
And now we have the FBI has recently joined in to try to jump into this. So what's going on here?
Well, it's interesting. The FBI was brought in for a split second when the bodies were first found back in 2010. And they were not invited back, and pretty much, and just recently now, with Timothy Sini coming in as the Suffolk County Police Commissioner, have they been brought back in, and a profile, we've been told, is going to be created because there was never a profile. So,
Josh, for our viewers who maybe haven't heard of this story yet, give us a quick summary. Catch us all up to where we are today.
A sex worker named Shannon Gilbert disappears from an area called Oak Beach. She's last heard running and screaming, saying that someone is trying to kill her. She disappears. The police are brought in. They couldn't find her body, but subsequently they find 3 bodies along a desolate highway that's about a couple miles away. A couple months later, they find 6 more bodies. And so there's this mystery out there. First, is Shannon Gilbert connected? And then secondly, how are all these other bodies? The other thing we find is that there's 2 very distinct signatures between some of the bodies. Some were 500 feet apart, wrapped in burlap, and others dismembered remains, going back as far as 25 years. And so it's been a real mystery for police. We've spoken to many experts, and they can't seem to agree. And to me, that's shocking. We live in a society where we believe, because of, I guess, Law and Order and CSI, that these things are going to be solved. But the reality is they're not so easily solved.
Rachel, we've gone out there. We went out there with the film crew ourselves to sort of just check out where the bodies were found. Describe to our viewers this particular area of Long Island. What is it like?
Right. So it was 4 bodies found in 2010. Well, one, it's extremely cold almost all the time. It's extremely windy. The brambles there are really difficult to get into. If we're talking about Shannon Gilbert, she was found in the middle of these brambles, trying to, what we think, get to Ocean Parkway, get to help. But, it's extremely dark. You can't see anyone for miles.
Yeah.
Down that strip of road.
So the question that then becomes, after you've done this whole documentary, several series, what is your conclusion? We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk about what you think you've discovered and the questions that remain. We'll be right back with more Happening Now. And we're back with the filmmakers behind The Killing Season, Josh Zeman and Rachel Mills. And so there's been a question, Rachel, whether or not there is indeed a serial killer out there. And you have brought together sort of an interactive way for viewers to try to help you solve this case. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so we partnered with websleuths.com, which is a website you can go to for cyber sleuthing, armchair detectives. And there's a lot of those kinds of sites out there, but WebSleuths does a really great job at moderation to not have the conversations devolve, which often happen. So, after you watch the show, you can go to websleuths.com. They do a really great job at sourcing things that maybe the police don't have time to do.
Josh, do you think we're close to solving this?
That's a good question. Look, there's 5 unidentified individuals in this case. So that's a huge amount of potential clues. If we can identify who those people are, we can figure out their last moments, and in those last moments, maybe the clue to solving this case.
What was the most surprising thing you uncovered, Rachel, in your pursuit here in this documentary?
Oh gosh, there's a couple of people we interviewed for the Long Island case who have not been spoken to by police in over 10 years. One person, I guess I can tell them,
Sure.
Khalil White, who was the pimp/boyfriend of one of the victims, and was never re-interviewed once his girlfriend's other set of part of her body was found later on, 2003 and 2011. Police never talked to her again.
What about you, Josh? In your experience, what's been the most surprising thing? What do you think viewers should really pay attention to here?
Look, we have this idea that all of our information is being tracked 24/7. It's being put into supercomputers, and I was just shocked at how that's not the case. Law enforcement is behind the private sector when it comes to putting these clues together. We have an algorithm that can help us choose what movies we want, but we don't have an algorithm that helps us figure out how these murders are connected.
Well, it'll be very interesting for our viewers to watch. A story, again, that's very provocative, and who knows, maybe we solve this thing.
This can be solved.
Let's do it. Josh and Rachel, great to have you both. Thank you very much.